How to get over a miscarriage.
Wow.
I can answer that one firsthand. I had 2 miscarriages between our 2 oldest. So we have 3 kids, 12, 7, and 7. And the 2 little ones are not twins. They're Irish twins. So that's another story for another time. But
she can't keep her hands off me.
And
we had one son. We waited 4 years. We had Logan.
Yeah, well,
Easy peasy.
we got pregnant 2 years after that, and that was the plan. You know, I don't know if there's any planners out there, but you like them to, you know, you had a plan. And our first miscarriage, I actually woke up one day like in pain, and the pain grew to excruciating over a couple hours. And I went into the hospital, and I was, you know, vomiting from the pain, and it was the most horrific pain. It was worse than childbirth, the pain that I was having. And I went into emergency surgery. I had a cyst on my ovary, but I was pregnant. And so
Which is scary. They're like, we're going to do a surgery on you while you're pregnant.
Yeah, and I was like, is my
ovary.
baby going to be okay? And they said the baby will be fine. We can go in laparoscopically, and you know, the baby will survive. And I had to sign my life away, and we might have to take out your uterus. We might have to take out your, you know, whatever fallopian tube, sign here. And I was like, just keep my baby like safe. And so I went into surgery, and I came out, and the baby was fine. And they were able to take the cyst out, and it was great. And then when I went in for my appointment, my next appointment, the baby didn't have a heartbeat. And I just, gosh, I get emotional even thinking about it. 10 years later was so devastating. You know, this was a life that we had prayed for and hoped for. And gosh, I haven't gotten emotional about this in so many years. But it was a lost life. And we began to talk about names and this child's future. And it was gone. And I got so sick. That first miscarriage, I mean, I was in and out of the hospital for probably 7 months. So we had the emergency surgery, and then I had complications, and I lost too much blood. And so we had blood transfusions and further hospitalizations. And then after that, I had hemorrhaging, and then they had to stop that. So I was on all this meds and fell into depression from all the medication. Like, it was a long journey. So I don't even think the first time I fully processed all the grief that came along with that. And then the second one, you know, you get so scared. And I would say to whoever asked this question, you will get through it. And it was so important for me to talk to other people that had been through it, because it was such a weird space to grieve someone you never met. And you almost felt like, you know, I didn't make it to, you know, that many weeks. And so it felt like nobody knows I'm pregnant. Like, I don't even know if we had announced it. So it was just this like very lonely place. But talking to people that had been through it was so healing, because they understood all the things that no one could understand. And so I think that was really important in my journey. And then just God healing my heart and me trusting him and not listening to the lies of the enemy that would say, like, your body can't do this, or you're not going to have another baby, or just all the things that fear setting in about what you can do as a mom or a woman, and what your body can do. And so that was the first one. And it was almost a year of being sick and a lot going on physically. And then we got pregnant again, and we lost that baby as well. And that time for me, it wasn't as physical. It was a lot more of the emotional side of the loss and the grief that I was unable to process with my health being so poor the first time. And again, I think I remember just a lot of questions, but standing on the fact that God was good and he was with me. And I think so much, it was so much grief that I feel like in times where we're suffering or we're in pain, at least in my own journey, God is so close. And so I can look back on that time as like one of the worst seasons of my life, yet God being so present and so sweet and so close that there was joy in the midst of pain. There was comfort in the midst of grief. And like, he was with me. I knew God deeper in those moments because he was so present. And so, yeah, I don't know how you get over it, but you do. I think processing it with people, especially people that have gone through it, is so healing.
You arrived at a place where you needed to grieve.
Yeah.
And
I
that's what's confusing about miscarriages, is that we tend to not treat them as lives.
Yeah.
And we don't grieve. We don't do funerals. Life is the most precious thing in the world. There's nothing more sacred than life. And then you have a miscarriage and then nothing happens. You don't have a ceremony.
Sure.
You don't acknowledge it. And it's so weird in our culture.
Yeah.
You know, as believers, we believe that life starts in the womb. You know, there's plenty of scriptures about that, but one of my favorite is when Jesus actually is in the womb with Mary, and his mom visits her cousin Elizabeth, and she's also pregnant with John.
Yep.
And the Bible says that John leaps in the womb when Jesus comes near.
Yeah.
And like with joy, you know, it's like this idea that there's a life in there. And even as a dad to a baby that was in your belly, we're thinking of names. We're praying over the belly every night, praying over the baby.
Yeah.
When I got the news of the miscarriage, it was like it was so traumatic.
Yeah.
And, you know, to the person who writes this, I want you to know that your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
That this is a death that you experienced, that you must grieve.
Yeah.
You must treat that loss as a loss of life. And to push that down or to treat it like anything other than life would be to not honor the God who gave you that life. And I don't know why you miscarried. I don't know if it was because your body was shutting something down that wasn't going well. I don't know if there was an accident that happened that jeopardized the health of the baby. Those are things that most likely you can't control. But at this moment, what you can do is you can enter a grieving process where you say,
it's really good.
God, thank you for the life. I believe that I will see that baby again. Thank you for, and then name that and pray and find a way to begin. I'm going to grieve.
Yeah.
It's very hard to heal from a death in your life without grieving.
Yeah.
People say that time heals all wounds. This is not true. Time makes you forget. Grief is the way that God has designed your body and your soul to respond to loss.
That's really good.
And those stages of grief and those ways that you grieve, that's a gift that God's given you to mind, body, soul, spirit. Not just move forward, but healthy, acknowledge process. And I love your advice with talking with other people. And I hopefully that this person who wrote this question right now is seeing you still getting teary 10 years later. Look at that. Look at that. That's because that was a life. Yeah. So many of our friends praying to have babies that can't have babies. And it's a real thing, you know, to be there. And
just the other day, like last week, I was in, you know, we've told our kids about our miscarriages, and Carter was just in the kitchen. He's like, Mom, I can't wait to meet, like, we don't even know if we have a brother or a sister. Like, we don't know, but when we get to heaven, we get to meet them. And they talk about these babies that, you know, never made it to full term, about their siblings that they're excited one day to meet in heaven. So it's kind of cool when that, like, we've not told them more than just like, we had a baby and it died in mommy's tummy and that baby's in heaven with Jesus. But they have like we're so excited one day. Like, we have like a surprise for us waiting in heaven of a brother or a sister. I was like, you do. So
at a young age, they recognize that, they feel that, and they sense that.
Yeah.
No question.
No question. We didn't talk more about them than just that one thing. Like, this happened.
They get it. No matter what the world tells you.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
When you're a kid.
Totally.
I don't want to do any more questions.
That's enough, right?
That's enough.
That was a little heavy. Sorry, guys.